Boker Tov. Today's daf yomi is Sanhedrin daf Zayin, Sanhedrin 7. Today's daf is dedicated for Shmir for the Chayalim. That's all for the Shvuyim and the Yeshua for Am Yisrael and the Seis Tzara. Gemara says in today's daf yomi, we're going to start on Vav Amabeis, 2 lines from the bottom. Amar Rav Halacha Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. The Rav taught the laws like Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. We've been discussing this. And it's a mitzvah for the judge to do arbitration. So Gemara says, is it really the case that Rav said the law is like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, that it's a mitzvah to do a pshara? Rav Huna was a student of Rav. When they would come before Rav Huna, he would say, do you want to do a din, law, or pshara, arbitration? So the Gemara says, my mitzvah nami dekam Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. What does Rabbi Shua ben Karcha mean when he says it's a mitzvah to arbitrate? On top of Zayin Amid Al, it says mitzvah lememralahu idina bisu ipsharbi. So he says it's a mitzvah to offer them the possibility of arbitration, but not to push them to arbitration. Gemara says, well, if that's the case, I mean Tanan Kama. Isn't this exactly the same thing that the Tanan Kama says? Because the Tanan Kama also says that the Tanan Kama says that it's a reshus, it's a discretion whether or not you want to do arbitration. Gemara says Ika b'nayim mitzvah. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha said mitzvah Tanan Kama said reshus. The difference between them is whether or not it's a good thing to actually do arbitration. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha says the mitzvah. Tanan Kama says that you have the right to do it. Meaning to say, according to Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, it's a mitzvah for him to offer arbitration, whereas according to Tanan Kama, he's allowed to offer arbitration. If that's the case, if that's the case, the Tanan Kama's position that he's allowed to offer arbitration before he completes the law, this is the same thing as Rabbi Shimon ben Asya, because Rabbi Shimon ben Asya says that as long as he doesn't know which way the law is going, he's allowed to offer arbitration. So isn't this the same thing as the Tanan Kama? Mara says, that according to Rabbi Shimon ben Asya, once you hear the matter but you don't know which way it's going, then according between them, then Rabbi Shimon ben Asya says you're now no longer allowed to offer arbitration, whereas the Tanan Kama would say under those circumstances you're allowed to until Nigmar Adin. And we're going to say that Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbi Yossi, who said that the pasuk Votzei Berach Ni Hashem is that we said earlier, 3 different explanations on 6b that refers to somebody who blesses the judge who does compromise. This argues with Rabbi Tanchumen bar Chanilai because he says that the pasuk refers to something else. That he says the pasuk refers to this pasuk of Votzei Berach, the one who blesses the Votzei, it was said Kenegen Maaseh Egel, was said corresponding to the golden calf. Shenemar Vayara Aaron Vayivem Mizbeach Lefanav. And Aaron saw and he built an altar before him. Mara'ah, what did Aaron see? Amar Binyamin Bar Yefet, Amar Boezer Ra'or Chor Shazavuach Lefanav. He saw a chor that was sacrificed in front of him. Amar Ilo Shamanalu Hashta Avdui Kid Avdi B'chor. He says, if they're not going to listen to me, they'll do to me just like they did to Chor. Mikayim B Imiyareg B'Mikdash Hashem Kohen V'Navi. And fulfill through me the verse from Eicha that there will be killed in the temple of God a Kohen and a prophet. They'll never be able to fix that. So it's better that they do the golden calf. So they'll be able to at least do teshuvah. Mahani Tanai Poter Mayim Rishis Madon. So what's the message there? So Aaron is not incorrect that he was worried that they would have killed him. It would have been devastating. But the reason why he's being the one who blesses him is cursed is because Aaron had the opportunity. He should have believed in himself that he could have done so much more. He could have just saved all of the Jewish people from the sin entirely. But instead, he didn't have the confidence in himself that he could stand up and stop them entirely. So then the Gemara says, V'hani Tanai Poter Mayim Reishis Madon. So the Gemara says all those Tanaim that think that as long as it's not the final decision has not been reached, you're allowed to make a compromise. So earlier, what do they do with the verse Poter Mayim Reishis Madon? What would they do with the verse from Tehillim that says Poter Mayim Reishis Madon? That Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai had said that the judge is allowed to do a compromise only before he knows which way it's going. But all those who say that as long as you have not actually given the ruling, what do they do with that pasuk? So the Gemara says, "My dar shebeki de Rav Hamnuna, damar Rav Hamnuna, ein chilus dino shel adam nidon el al divrei Torah." They darshan like Rav Hamnuna, who said that a person is judged when he comes up to heaven. The first thing he's going to ask him about is, "Did you study Torah?" As it says, "Poter mayim reishis madon." So this is a question because Tosfos says that in Perek Mamei Madlikin, the first question is, did you conduct business faithfully? And after that, they discuss whether or not you established time for Torah study. So the Gemara says, so Tosfos says, there it's talking about a person who's always studying Torah, but he doesn't have a fixed time for Torah study. And here we're talking about a person who didn't study Torah at all. Or alternatively, first they ask you about business. Did you conduct business fully? But he's going to be punished on whether or not he studied Torah. Amar Rav Huna, so Rav Huna says, Hi Tigra, if there's a fight, Damio Etzinura Debidka Demaya. It's similar to, it looks like a river that's beginning to go up on its banks, and it comes out like a small stream. At first, a little bit of water comes out, and you have to close up the stream immediately. But even the Ravach, once the stream expands, you can't stop it. Abaye Kashishe Amar Dami Laguda de Gamma, that a fight is like a board on a bridge. Keeping the come. Once the board is in tight, then it's not going anywhere. And so to a fight, once it's entrenched, you can't stop it. Shammai Shoti Shevet Zmiros Have Simon. This is the way to remember it. There was a person. Gemara is going to bring several different teachings now that they used to say while they were going. Tuvia, he would say, Tuvei Deshame Va'adish. Fortunate is the one who hears himself insulted and he doesn't respond. Chalfua Bishatse Meya, that everything that was bad about him will be switched 100 times. 100 bad things that were supposed to come upon him will be switched because he was quiet. Amrei Shmuel, Rav Yehuda Kroksiv, that there's a pasuk that says it's Poter Mayim Reishis Madon, Reish Meadina, that he's going to get 100 Meadina. 100 bad things will be switched onto him, from him. There was a person who used to say, for 2 or 3 thefts, the thief is not going to be killed, but in the end, he'll be punished for all of them. And so too, somebody who does a sin 2 or 3 times, he's going to get away with it. But don't worry, in the end, he'll get punished. And I'm really sure Rabbi Yehuda Krok said, we base this on a pasuk, which we said last week in the Haftorah, Komar Hashem, I'll overlook 3 sins, but not the 4th. There was a person who was walking along, Shev Beirei Shalmana, and if there's a person going, even if there'll be 7 pits dug in front of him of a person who runs after peace, in the end he'll be safe from them. But for somebody who does bad, he's going to fall even into 1 pit. And Amrei Shmuel Rav Yehuda Kroksiv is based upon the pasuk. It says in Mishlei, Ki Sheva Yipol Tzadik V'Kam or Shami Kashel Bara, that the tzaddik will fall 7 times, will be able to get up, but the wicked one will fall down in his bad things. There was a person who was walking along and saying, somebody from who the court took away his coat, meaning as a payment. He should sing songs and walk along his path, meaning to say, because he should be so happy that he's no longer a robber. And I'm always sure Rabbi Yehuda Kroksiv, it's based upon a pasuk in Shemos, V'gam kol ha'am hazeh al makomo yavo b'shalom. all these people came to the place in peace. Me'aloshon kol mashma sha'af hayotzim chayavim b'din ochem u'beisim mishlam simcha. Implies even the person who goes out liable from court is happy because he's going to be ultimately rectified. I name a vidikua shafo, a woman who is sleeping and the basket that's on her head fell off together with her work. Meaning because she's lazy. Therefore, her work is not recognized more. And that because of the laziness, the ceiling falls in. If a person doesn't fix the house, the ceiling will fall in. A person who I trusted in, he lifted up his fist against me, and I'm always more of you, the crux of meaning to say also this person who was with me in tranquility and gave to me I gave to from my bread, all of a sudden, nevertheless, he set a trap against me to kill me. This is a phrase that people say when a love between a husband and wife is so strong. They sleep. They can even sleep on the edge of a sword, meaning to say they need just a very small space. But when their love between them is not strong, even a bed as wide as 60 amos is not sufficient for us. And meaning to say, if two people are in love, no bed is too small. And if people are not doing well in their marriage, no bed is too big. No bed is big enough. It says in the verse, God spoke to us from above the kapara. It's a very small place. Only one tefach. So there was only 10 tefachim from the ground, and God was there. But after the Jewish people sinned, the temple was humongous. God says, you can't keep me in your home. It's not big enough for me. So when we're doing the will of God, small space is sufficient. When we're not doing the will of God, even a giant temple is not enough. So the Gemara said earlier that Rabbi Chanin said that the verse Sagurim Ish teaches us that a student is not allowed to hold back from saying the proper law in front of his teacher if he thinks the teacher is making a mistake. Gemara says, "My mashra da'ai lo saguru lishna de kanushehu." How do we know that the words lo saguru mean expression of gathering in? Amar Nachman Amar Kra, v'yayin lo teshtev lo tagor. It says in the verse in Devarim, wine you will not drink and gather into your home. Rav Bar Yaakov Amar Me'acha, takhin b'kayetz lachma, agra b'katzir ma'achola. Prepare in the summer your bread, and gather in the harvest your foods. We see that it means gather in. Rav Bar Dovik Amar Me'acha, ogar b'kayetz ben maskil. The wise person gathers in his food in the summer. That's like Joseph in our parsha. Next thing to remember is Amos, Mamo, and Yeres Simon. Any judge who judges a case properly, any judge who judges properly, Masha Shechina B'Yisrael will cause the divine presence to rest on the Jewish people, as it says, Al Kimni Dav Vatzas Kel B'Kerav Al Kim Yishpot. But if a judge does not judge properly, cause the divine presence to depart. As it says in the Pasuk, Mishod Aniyim because since you steal from the poor and you harass the poor, I'll depart now from the court, says God. Whoever judge takes from one and gives to the other improperly, God is going to take his soul, as it says, don't steal from the poor man, and don't crush the poor man in the gate. Because God will fight their battles and will take the soul of those who steal. Judge should always see as though there's a sword between his thighs. And Gehenna is underneath him, is open up underneath him. As it says, Hinemi Social Shoma Shishim Giborim Stavavlam Gibor Israel. Behold the bed of Solomon. There were 60 mighty warriors around it from the warriors of Israel. All of them knew how to fight battle, holding a sword. Each man's sword was on his thigh from fear and night. And the fear of Gehenna that was similar to night. Based of Eko Amar Hashem Dino Aboker Mishpat. What do you do from the pasuk? The house of David, thus says Hashem, Dino Aboker Mishpat, and save the one who was stolen from the plundering. We have Boker done, and you only do the judgment in the morning call. Yom ain't done, not the whole day. Ella and Barucha Adavar Kaboker Amreo. If the matter is clear to you in the morning, you should say it. Otherwise, don't say it. The state of wisdom, you are my sister. In Barucha Adavar if the matter is as similar to you like your sister who is prohibited to you, Omro, say it. Otherwise, don't say it. If 10 people are sitting in judgment, there is like a chain around all of their necks, meaning to say, if they make a mistake, all of them will be punished. So it says, Pshito, it's obvious. What's he teaching us? So the Gemara says, even a student sitting before his teacher will be responsible. When the judgment come before Ravuna, you gather up 10 of the students from the base medrash and so that they'll just get a small splinter from the beam. Means if they make the mistake, it'll be spread out over all of them. When Rashi brought an animal that was born as a treifa, and they were asking whether or not it's kosher, we would gather in all the butchers of Matamachasya to give the ruling with you. If he'll make a mistake, he'll only get a small portion of the punishment. What do you do with the pasuk? Melch b'mishpat yamid aretz. A king with judgment will uphold the earth. Ish trumos yarsena. What does it mean? If the judge is similar to a king who doesn't need anything, meaning he knows the expert, he knows all the laws, just like a king has all the wealth. Yamid aretz, the world will be a true judgment, and the world will be upheld. But if it'll be similar to a kohen who's always going around snoring in the granaries, yarsena. That's the true mode, then he'll destroy the world. The they established a judge who was not learned enough to be the judge. So the people of the Nazi's house said to Yehuda bar Nachmani, who was the Meturgaman, like the interlocutor for Reish Lakish, go up and stand next to this person and say whatever he whispers to you in a loud voice. Be like his microphone. Come, Gachanolay. So Yehuda Nachmani bent over him. But this judge didn't know anything, so he wasn't saying anything. Pasach Ba'amar, he started to speak. Hoy Omer la'etz hakitza, uri la'evan domeim, uyoreh, hinei utafusa, avakesef kol ruach makirbo. Meaning to say, he said as like, basically, say to the tree, wake up. Say to the stone, wake up. Basically, teach us. Behold, he has gold and silver, but there's no spirit in him. Meaning to say he was appointed because he paid gold and silver. He has no spirit of wisdom. And so to this person, doesn't know how to be the judge. Whoever appointed him, God is going to punish them. As it says, meaning to say, this is what causes Hashem to remain as Heichel and not to come out, because because the next pasuk says God remains in His temple and will destroy the earth. Whoever points a judge, it's not worthy. Like he planted an idolatrous tree by Israel. There's judges and officers you shall appoint for some. Now to plant an Asherah tree. And if there's Torah scholars there, and instead he pointed somebody who's not worthy, as though you pointed the Asherah tree next to the altar. As it states, Ksiv says in the verse, do not make for me gods of gold and silver. And you're allowed to make a god of wood. Don't appoint for me a judge who was appointed because of money, gold or silver. Rav Kiava also Beidina, when Rav will come to court, Amaraki would say as follows: on his own will, he's going to death, meaning to say I know on my own I'm going to do something. If I make a mistake, I'm punishable by death. And I'm not doing the needs of my house. And I'm going to go back home empty-handed because I'm not going to take a payment for this. And now I wish that when I come back to my home, it'll be just like when I went out of my house without sin. Right? When Rav saw that there was a group of people who were walking after him to honor him, and he was concerned, become arrogant. Amar Co, meaning to say somebody who was exalted up to heaven because he's been successful. In the end, he'll be thrown down from his honor, and he'll be like feces. Marzutra Chasida, when they would carry him on their shoulders, on the Shabbos of the festival, because they wanted him to give him honor, and he thought he would become arrogant as a result. Amar Achi said, wealth is not forever. Meaning to say, even if you're strong now, don't rely upon yourself because it's not going to last forever. The Darish Bar Kapara Mina Mills Rabbanan. How do we know this matter that the rabbis say of him? Be deliberate in judgment. Of Siv, it says below Saleb and Malos. You're not allowed to go up on steps on the altar, meaning to say you can't go up quickly, but go slowly. And then next to it says these are the laws. How do we know that the judge should not walk over the people's heads to get to them? And say when they used to sit on the floor and the judge would walk in, he'd walk above them. But he shouldn't do that. He should go there before them. Because otherwise it looks like he's walking over their heads. It says, so the Gemara says, why it says these are the laws that you shall place before them? That's wrong. It should say, it should say, these are the laws you should teach them. What it means you shall place before them? You shall place before them the utensils that help the judges. We'll see what they are. When he went out to judge, he would say the following: take out from me my utensils. What are they? Makel, they're a staff or a tzua, a strap. The shofara, the shofar to excommunicate. The sandala and a shoe for chalitza. The strap to give lashes and the staff to give rabbinic lashes. I'll command your judges at that time. It says, I will command, meaning to say they were zrizim. So it says that tzava comes from the expression of zrizim, be zealous. So it says, they were careful to place awe on the community only for the sake of Hagit. Only for the sake of heaven. Here amongst your brothers and judge them. Not allowed to hear one litigant before the other. And then it's a warning for the court and a warning for the person. Meaning to say, only when you're amongst your brothers should you make your words heard. which means don't, lotisa, I mean, don't accept. So the judge should not hear the words, lotasi. He should not cause his words to be heard, and lotisa should not, and he should not accept until both parties are there. Meaning to say, the Torah commands us tzaddikas adin, understand what's the right law, and only afterwards. Even when they come to you, brothers, that they have a house and inheritance, the judge shouldn't say, "What's the big deal? The upper story is worth a little less. That at least you each have something to live." But rather, he has to say exactly what it's worth. You have to distinguish between an oven and a stove. Don't say, you take the stove, you take the oven, it doesn't matter, but rather do precisely. Okay, fine. So we'll stop here. Yeshakoach. Yeshakoach.